it is massive. Do you know when you're on the pitch and it's empty and there's no one in there and your voice is echoing? It's the most eerie, kind of surreal experience ever.
Imagine me in that Deadpool costume.
That latex is doing you any favours, is it? Stories like Harrogate Town. Harrogate Town can go from the Conference North into League Two in 3 seasons. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, then you've got the chance, you're 3 leagues away from the Premier League. And
why did they build the artificial pitch on a slope still?
Can you come see me, kid, or something? And I was like, do you know what I mean? Just like shit scared. Like, obviously, Garrett, and he was like, where have you been? Like, I explained the situation and he was like, oh, no, you need to be training with us. Like, as soon as you sign a pro here, you can't then go to America because you have to be like amateur status. The basketball team in my uni is probably the biggest program in the country.
Really?
One of the most renowned. So the lads are just like superstars.
Yeah.
So you're watching them on ESPN and then you're in like an arts class with them the next day and stuff. We're part of like Bristol Rovers history.
Yeah.
Like that. When Bristol Rovers fans in 40 years time, they'll talk about that team that went and won 7-0 and that feeling and what we did, like the impossible with it.
That.
And it was, honestly, from where I was kind of a year ago, like looking for a club, to then go and do that was unbelievable.
Now wake up! It's time to look at the enemy. Look in the mirror if he is no friend to me. It's not working out, maybe it's the chemistry. It's time to break up so I can make a better me.
James Belshaw, thank you for joining me. How are you?
Yeah.
Harrogate's number 1.
Yeah, so that's how we're starting.
That's the it started.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay, go on then. Start that again then. I thought you were just saying you're going to practice.
Yeah, no, that's it, mate. Okay, so I'll do it again, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
James Belshaw, Harrogate's number 1. Thank you for joining me.
You're welcome, mate. Yeah, good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming over. You came from Notts?
Yeah, so only about an hour and a half away, to be fair. Not bad. Avoid that M6 toll and just stay on the A5 and come down. But
straight road, isn't it?
Yeah, no, nice little setup you got here. So I was admiring all the shirts we've got up there and yeah, done all right for yourself here.
Everyone says that. I'm wondering whether I should give the illusion away and tell people that like, it's in the shed in the bottom of my garden.
No, well, you didn't tell me it was a shed. You told me you've got this massive setup in the bottom of your garden here.
It's a log cabin.
This big cabin, yeah.
You was having me up saying open the gate at the bottom of the west wing and
I know, yeah,
they'll let you in.
Yeah, the valet parking out the front, yeah.
Did you have a game last night or anything?
No game last night. No, Tuesday. We've had quite a few Tuesdays, to be fair. So it was the first kind of...
It's been relentless.
Tuesday we've had off for a few weeks. We've got Vale at home next Tuesday,
right?
So we're straight back into it. But we got a Monday off. It was my birthday at the weekend.
Happy birthday.
So yeah, 34 now. So had a weekend at Centre Parks with mum and dad and my brother and his wife, missus and little one. So she's walking around now, little one. So
and how old's your little one?
She's nearly 17 months now. So yeah, she's.
Your world changes, doesn't it? When
it's carnage. Yeah, it goes so fast as well. I know everyone says it, but from when she was crawling to now walking around, you're constantly sort of checking everything, trying to baby-proof the house and that. And when your wife's an interior designer and and trying to move stuff around, it's like, everything's got a place, but you obviously got to keep it away from the little one.
I didn't find that balance when my lad was growing up. It was just chaos. There was pens on the wall, and that was me. That one
yeah, no, if there's pen on the sofa or anything, I don't think my life would be worth living. But
oh my God.
But no, she's great, mate. It's, best thing ever.
Can you imagine how's life back at Harrogate?
Yeah, been really good. Yeah, obviously went back there.
Is this your third stint officially?
Second. Well, technically, yeah. So I went back on loan and then ended up signing permanently. But no, it's been brilliant. Like for me, it was a big part of what I needed was to get back home.
Yeah,
obviously, I'd had the little one. I was living away for sort of 2.5 years. So to be able to get back home, and this opportunity came up at a place that I really, really loved my football, had great success, and there's still sort of 4 of my best mates there that that went through all the kind of promotions with us from non-league and
the first time.
Yeah, so those lads have been there sort of 7-8 years.
It's a testament to the club, that is.
Really,
you don't see that very often anymore.
No, I mean you've got lads that. Well, one of the lads the other week played his 400th game for Harrogate, which is some achievement, by the way. Like especially in the lower leagues, when you're not talking like stupid money, you're not talking ridiculously long contracts. There's a notorious for being like high turnover of players.
Cool.
So for those lads to stay there, so yeah, to be able to go back there was great. A couple of the lads didn't know I was going back, so I told a couple of them that I was going back, and then just
surprise.
Pretty much. Yeah. One of the lads come bounding into the changes. He saw my car in the car park and then come bounding in. But no, it's been brilliant. Yeah,
it's an impressive rise from the club, though. So you say players have been there a long time. Back in 2019, you was in the National League, wasn't you?
Yeah. So I signed for Harrogate in 2017, and they'd just gone full time. And I was at a point in my life where I was playing for Tamworth. I was working full time, playing part time for Tamworth.
What was that doing?
Managing a team of software engineers. Doing software engineer for like data recorder systems and sort of
sounds exciting
for like trackers. Yeah, it wasn't the best, but no, it was through like a family friend that I initially got the job, but it wasn't like a career I was kind of passionate about, and then decided to sort of take a massive pay cut. Just sort of obviously left Tamworth, quit my job. I just started a coaching business, so I had that as well, and just kind of had too much really, and mentally it was becoming. I mean, you know what it's like when you're playing part-time, you've been working all day, you're in an office, and then you go into training.
It's not part-time, is it?
No, it's not.
Non-league football is very much full-time. It might be Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, but it's relentless, and you're always on the clock. And then when you're not at training, you've got to be in the gym, and you've got to be competing, especially now more so than ever. Everyone's fit. Everyone goes back in pre-season fit.
Of course they do. And at Tamworth, they just built the 3G there in my last year. And in terms of training time, we used to train at like 8 o'clock at night because the pitch would be hired out from like 5 to 8, obviously trying to recoup the money for it, which at that level you have to do. You have to obviously rent it out. So we were training late, and then you're getting back at, I don't know, you're finishing training like 10, half 10, and then you're home for half 11, and then you're up in the morning, and it got a bit much. But so the opportunity to go to Harrogate came about. I met the manager, Simon Weaver, and he had a chat with me about his sort of vision for the club, where he wanted to go. And they were going full time. And at that point, I think there was us. Salford went full time the same year.
Really?
And I think Kiddie were the only other full time team in the National League North. And Salford ended up winning the league, and we ended up winning the playoffs. So I mean, obviously the journey that I've been on there was great, and then to be back there now and to have seen the club rise and to sort of sustain kind of a football league, sort of to become an established football league club. I think this is the fifth season in the football league. So every year we're Bucky's favourites to go down every year. Funny enough, I was listening to a podcast on the way here. They were talking about like the state of play in League Two and that, and saying about predicting who's going to go down, and they say they expect teams like Harrogate to be dragged into it, and say that every year. And I think there was one year, obviously I'd left, and I think there was one year where they sort of were fighting it off a little bit, but managed to sort of steer clear of it with a few games to spare. But then last year, I think we finished 13th last year, and we were touch and go for the playoffs for the last kind of month of the season. So for a club that the size of Harrogate, which is, I mean, it's probably the smallest club in the Football League, but the way it's run, it's very much a family business.
Well, there you go. Sounds like you've got people who care. Yeah. Well, going back to your time at Tamworth, why did they build the artificial pitch on a slope still? Why did they keep the slope?
The only sloped artificial pitch.
He doesn't like it, does he?
They think Bob wanted to stump up the extra few quid to level it out.
There's been a few comments on Bob Scott was the same.
Yeah, but no, he's it's. I think that slope's kind of synonymous with Tamworth.
Yeah,
everyone knows that slope that's there. But I mean, to be fair, I think they tried it. You can see at the top end, you can see like there's like a step in.
They definitely have tried to adjust it.
So they tried to, but I think
there's too much land to cut away to make it flat.
Whether the level is broken or something, or it's an old ski slope from the slope.
Yeah, Tamworth might be built like that. That's why. But I think what you was just saying about the longevity of players' careers. Harrogate, that's probably testament to the club's success. I think there's a high turnover at a number of clubs when a new manager comes in, because the manager's life cycle is quite short at many clubs. And I think if you can keep that established core, sprinkle it with youth, I think that's kind of the right balance, what it looks like.
Yeah, and that's what he's done. He's kept that like I said, kept that core together, and it's very much, like I said, it's very much a family club. The manager has been there for, I think it's 15 years now.
Wow. There's not many managers who's had that kind of...
No, I think it's... Success. Well, he's by far the longest serving manager in the Football League. I think it's him and then Pep's, I think, probably behind him or something. Yeah. But his dad's the chairman. So I think when...
It helps.
Well, yeah, when they went full-time, the chairman had bought the club a couple of years before, I think. And then they sort of had this vision of taking Harrogate Town, and the way the stadium grew, like from when I first went there to now, and it's because we got promoted so quickly. Yeah, you know what it's like. You have to make changes to the ground, and it was very much like, right, okay, what do we have to do? Okay, here's the money to do this. We've got to build this stand. We've got to expand the changes, we've got to do this, we've got to build another bar here, there's got to be an away end, and all the stuff you kind of have to do, all these regulations you have to meet. But yeah, it's very much been a great sort of story in itself for the football club, and that's testament to the manager, it's testament to that core group of lads that have stayed and kind of carried that culture with us.
Yeah.
So I think culture in football and in dressing rooms is massive, and it's those group of lads that have stayed with it. And when we say we have the best dressing room I've ever been in by far, and those lads to kind of carry on that sort of that winning mentality that we've built, but then also that sort of no dickhead policy. So anyone who's kind of not pulling the right.
You're saying I wouldn't fit in then?
No, we need a big target man up top. I saw you the other week in that charity game, banging goals.
Mate, Scott said the same thing.
Went home with a match ball, didn't you? I won't mention the green shirt at the start.
I'm playing again for Shepshed.
Oh yeah,
the shirt doesn't go over my belly button, so I have to wear a shirt underneath to tuck it in, and it's just my shoulders, isn't it?
Hey, those goals don't move though, do they?
Goals don't move.
Exactly.
Say, yeah. Some things never change.
Yeah.
Are the footballing people, the chairman and the family then?
Oh yeah. Well, the manager used to play. I had a career, was at Lincoln. I think he played for Tamworth as well. Gaffer did back in the day. So yeah, very much a footballing family. But I think in terms of the chairman, so his business is property. So they do housing developments, a company called Strata, and I don't think he had ever sort of envisaged kind of buying into a football club. But then obviously property company's done really well.
Yeah.
His son was sort of player manager at Harrogate when he initially went there, like 2009. Again, don't know all the ins and outs, but then they've obviously had some sort of conversation, and he's sort of said the club's up for sale, and the chairman's kind of gone in with it. And yeah, I mean, like I said, what they've done with the football club, the people they've gotten around, like even the coaching staff, it's such a small coaching staff group. It's a very tightly knit staff group. Yeah. So it's the same staff that were there when I signed in 2017. So very
just people who care, they make the club tick. But saying what you said, like, it's a labour of love, isn't it, to be a football chairman and to be a manager as well. It's such a short life cycle. Just reminded me of playing on Kevin Keegan's Football Manager back in the day when you were saying, you have to build your stand, you have to make sure everyone's happy.
Yeah, and you get those that are unhappy that can rock the boat.
Yeah. But such an hard job. I mean, Wrexham have brought the romance back to owning a football club and what they're doing, and the Salford lot as well.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're...
But I mean, with Wrexham, what they've done is, it's incredible, to be fair. I think a lot of Wrexham fans, when they first came in, were probably a little bit sceptical, going, oh, who are these coming over here? And to be fair to them, like, I mean, I've watched bits of the documentary. I know a couple of the lads there that I've spoken to, and what they've done, the money they've put in, the investment that they've put in, and the way they've built the profile of Wrexham.
Exactly.
Like, you look at the social media following, you look at the Disney stuff. I mean, I think we played them last year, and we were supposed to play them on Sky, and I think Sky wanted to move the game to a Thursday. I mean, I don't know the exact dates, but they wanted to basically adjust the schedule for Sky. They wanted Wrexham versus Harrogate. Wrexham basically just went, nah, we don't need the money.
Really?
So they're obviously getting the...
Well, that's when you get complacent though, isn't it, sometimes?
Yeah, but
doing things for the wrong decisions.
Yeah,
sometimes.
but what they're doing now, I mean, they're second in League One. Yeah. The investment that they've put in, and like I said, the way that club's grown, and with Wrexham, like, again, I don't know any Wrexham fans, but it's one of those clubs, like, it seems like a good club, like just good.
It was always a massive club.
Fans, yeah. They've been in nationally for, I think, about 15 years.
Most of my career was playing Wrexham every season, and it's such, like, the stadium and the fans and the passion of everyone, but it was just missing a bit of love, wasn't it? Just missing a bit of attention.
Well, you look at the old Cop stand they had, that old tired, like, Cop, and then I know now they've built the American kind of bleachers that are behind
I haven't even seen it yet.
I think they need a planning permission or something to rebuild the Cop, but they've built like the just like an American style stand, just pop up behind the goal. But we played there last year. The atmosphere's unreal. Yeah, like really, really good. And we've obviously got them in the cup now in a couple of weeks.
I think if I was doing the majority of my career now, it would be a club I'd look at, because I want to do stuff away from the game. I've always done that, and I know they promote it.
But I was speaking to one of the lads there. What they when they sign a player, they're very much like, right, okay, how can we help you? What interest do you have outside of football?
Raise your profile.
Yeah, like obviously Ben Foster, I know he doesn't really need the help, but Chomp with his podcast, there's a few other lads that have got clothing lines, there's lads that are into property or something.
Who's the striker who was just in a Deadpool movie?
Paul Mullen, yeah, exactly.
Imagine me in that Deadpool costume. It's like Deadpool costume.
Don't think that latex is doing you any favours, is it? To be fair, but no, yeah, like again, very much like keep everyone on side, and like sort of going back to Harrogate, like looking after your own.
Yeah.
So like with Harrogate being very loyal to that core group of lads that have done so well to get them promoted, and lads that are still playing in the Football League now and still kind of sort of risen with the level.
Amazing.
Yeah, has been excellent.
It's class. How is the outlook on that FA Cup game? Is it important to the Czech? Obviously, it's important. You want to make money, but big game, isn't it? Wrexham.
Yeah, I think it is a massive game, and I think for us, like,
is it home or away?
It's at home. It's at our place.
Good.
So I think for obviously clubs like ours and lower league sort of clubs, like the money that an FA Cup run can generate is massive. So I think obviously the chairman will look at it from that standpoint, but then for us as players, we were talking earlier about your kind of cup runs. They're what you remember. You remember your cup runs, and you're only sort of 2 games away from potentially.
I think I had to play 9 games before I got to the first round in my initial cup run.
Yeah, or the qualifiers and that. Yeah, but even that, like, they're the stories that you'll take from your career. Like, being honest, you're not going to remember away at Crewe on a random Tuesday night, but you remember the FA Cup games, and all of a sudden, you don't get me wrong, it's going to be a very tough game. They're a very good side, but you win that, and you're 1 win away from potentially being at Anfield or Old Trafford or Stamford Bridge, somewhere like that, the Emirates. So, yeah, really kind of big opportunity for us as players. And then you start winning games, there's games on telly, there's more exposure and stuff, and especially for lads that are at the sort of beginning of the career, gives them a chance to kick on and then
get in the limelight. What I've always found interesting is how clubs struggle after FA Cup runs, because they've been in the limelight and then they struggle to find consistency.
But I think that's where the FA Cup runs, it does divert your attention. So probably the clubs like, I don't know, like a Birmingham or someone like that, their sole focus this year is like, right, we're getting back into the champ. So a cup runs kind of could be a distraction for them. It's like, okay, if we do all right, great. But for us, like, it takes your attention. You think, right, okay, got a big FA Cup game. Like, you imagine you're playing away at Anfield and you've got a couple of games leading up to it. Lads, it is going to be on the mind. Like, lads are going to be like, oh, I want to make sure I'm in that team to play at Anfield, or I don't want to get injured, or lads will play within themselves. And then after the game, I mean, I've never really had like a massive sort of glamour tie, so I haven't sort of experienced that. But then afterwards, you think there's that come down, you're like, it's that build up to playing at Anfield or playing wherever, and then all of a sudden you're like, okay, you've got to, with all due respect, you've got to go away to a team in League Two, and it doesn't have that same kind of feel to it. So yeah, I think for us it'd be a welcome financial boost for the club, but then also as you want to test yourself against the best, don't you?
It's an interesting one, because for me, I loved playing that 90 minutes. It was all about the fight, all about the battle. And when it came to those big games, sometimes people would say, don't play the occasion, stick to what you know. But I love the occasion. So that would just add an extra dimension to the dynamics of the game. Yeah,
I think you have to allow yourself to soak it in as well. Yeah. Like, you have if you're playing there every week, it kind of becomes the norm for you. But if you're non-league or you're League Two and you're going away to a big ground, like, you have to soak up the atmosphere. You have to allow yourself to kind of go out there onto the pitch, have a look around, and you're in the tunnel or you're warming up and you're looking over and you're seeing lads that you're putting in your fantasy team for the weekend.
It's hard to look back now when I'm playing in front of my dad and the dog, like now again, and to try and remember when he was in front of like 30,000, 20,000. Sometimes like, did that happen? You know what I mean? You do have to pinch yourself. But to the latter end of my career, when I was still playing in them big games, I would take a second on the pitch before the ref blew the whistle, and I'd look around, have a deep breath, soak it in, and then I'd go again. Well,
one memory that sticks out to me was, obviously I got to League One with Bristol Rovers, and it was kind of, okay, this is like proper football now. Yeah. Like, you're looking at the fixture list and you're going, we've got Sheff Wednesday, Ipswich, Portsmouth, Bolton. You've got big teams, Charlton, like Premier League, Championship Premier League size football clubs. And we played Sheffield Wednesday away on the telly on a Wednesday night. And I remember obviously walking out of Hillsborough, never even been to Hillsborough, never played at Hillsborough before. And before the game, you're walking out, you go to the goal and you're kind of looking around, and it's when they start singing that Hi-Ho Sheffield Wednesday at the start, and
I'd start crying.
The noise there, you're just like, okay, like the history of obviously the football club, like what happened in that stand behind where I'm stood. And that was one of the first times when it kind of hit me, from all those years playing away at Chorley, Bradford Park Avenue before they made a 3G, stuff like that. And again, no disrespect to those clubs, but that was when you think, okay, I spent most of my career playing in non-league, and I think I was 32 at the time, 32, 33, and you look and you go, okay, like you're playing at Hillsborough now, and that was one of the things, like you said, to like soak it up a bit. And yeah, the old cliche, like you're there to do a job, and you're there on merit. And then once the whistle blows, obviously the focus changes. But it was important for me. You kind of allow yourself that moment to go.
It's magic, isn't it? That's the poetry of football. You don't grow up as a kid wanting to play against Grimsby away. You grow up wanting to play Anfield. Yeah. You know, wanting to play for England. And that's football. And
that's the beauty of the pyramid and the sort of football system we have in this league, because stories like Harrogate Town can go from the Conference North into League 2 in 3 seasons. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, then you've got the chance, you're 3 leagues away from the Premier League. And do you know what I mean? And I know that's kind of sort of pie in the sky a little bit, but it is possible. You look at, like, I know you had Scotland the other week, but you look at like Crawley last year, what Crawley did, unreal. Yeah. And to go up with obviously Wrexham, Stockport, Mansfield. Yeah. So it's the beauty of the game that we have here. And then stuff like you said, the cup runs and the games that you get, and like playoff finals at Wembley and stuff like that, the opportunities that you have as a lower league player to experience sort of the immense highs is amazing.
Like you said, anyone can play anyone. Like I said, when I started at Chasetown, to think that you could actually play a Championship, a League One side, a Premiership side, unbelievable. And then from a player standpoint, I look at somebody who I've passed in the game, Sam Morsey at Ipswich. Yeah, he's done League 2, League 1, and now he's playing in the Premiership, captaining the side every week, holding his own.
Well,
it makes you think, it's possible.
You look at that Ipswich side. I'm really good mates with the goalkeeper coach at Ipswich. He was at Walsall, Rennie Gilmartin, when I was there. Yeah, big Reg, yeah. So I speak to Reg quite a bit, and FaceTimed him just after they got promoted, and that was unreal. But that Ipswich story, what they did, we played them in League 1. And
he's not that old, is he?
No, he's probably about late 30s now. Yeah. Really good coach, really good guy, Reg is. And
why was he stopped playing though?
I think he went to Watford and sort of took that number 3 role, that glorious goalkeeping number 3 role, where get paid obviously decent dough to be a number 3. And then I think he sort of did he go to Bristol? He went to Bristol City.
That's the best job in the world.
Yeah, unreal. The Scott Carson role. Yeah, everyone's craving that. Yeah. 30 grand a week just to. But no, Reg. What they did with Ipswich, and like I was touching back on the core that they had. Like we played them in League 1, and they had like Wolfenden, Clark, Morsey, like Hurst, those kind of players that were there in League 1, Wes Burns, Connor Chaplin. They're now doing it for them in the Premier League. And there's so much to be said about what Kieran McKenna's done and the staff that they've got there to keep that core of players to go from League 1 into the Champ and then smash the Champ. Like I don't think anyone saw that coming, what they did to run with obviously Leeds, Southampton, Leicester, in the strength of the Championship to get out of it, and then now in the Prem to be doing
it's fine, isn't it? Like, 10 years back, the Premiership used to be head and shoulders above every other league with the fitness and everything, but I think everyone's so on it now, the way the world is. Yeah. So non-league, the players are so fit. There's no pre-season now because everyone's so fit.
Like you said, it's the fitness is much of a muchness. It's the financial side of it that actually means the club struggle to compete. But what Ipswich have done, and it says a lot for them for keeping that core of lads together. Yeah. And then they've obviously added a bit of quality, like Liam Delap, Amari Hutchinson, players like that have come in and made sort of a real difference. But you keep that core together, it's constantly. You don't know what you can achieve. Like momentum is massive. They've gone up from League 1, and we're having the Champ, and they smash that, and then into the Prem. So they keep
cloud nine. Like you say, you get bad luck and you get good luck, and sometimes people ride that good luck, and sometimes people have a cloud over their heads, and you just lose, and it's hard to get out of.
Yeah, no, they've done unbelievably.
Something I want to ask you. So we've talked a lot about the English game. What blows my mind? So all I wanted to do was be a professional footballer, play in the Football League. Mm-hmm. You made a decision early doors to not take that option. So you was offered a 1-year pro, was you at Walsall?
Yeah, so the way that came about, that was I was at Notts County as a kid. Yeah. And then when I was 15, Notts actually shut their academy down. So me and my brother were there. We got in from school. We got a letter saying that Notts County shut their academy down. So
you bankrupt them?
Free. No, so we were basically free to go and look for another club. So went to Forest, went to Leicester. Again, was sort of took one look at, and I don't like using it, but it was like, you're too small. Like, and I didn't grow till probably sort of 17, 18. So at the time, it might not have been good enough, and is what it is. And so I just dropped into real lower league men's football. I was playing for like Dunkirk and Hina Town. In the central mids, yeah, was playing at Hina. Don't get me wrong, loved it there.
Yeah.
But that was a 16, 17-year-old. That gave me a real kind of different viewpoint of football. Because you're going into men's football and, yeah, the world wasn't the same as it is now back then. So you sort of see a lot of stuff at 16, 17. But yeah, there was an older group of lads there that really sort of looked after me. And then I sort of stayed at sixth form. My grades were pretty decent at school, so I sort of stayed at sixth form, was playing for Hina Town, and then got a call from a guy, Trevor Hill, still remember his name. I've not spoke to him probably since that call, to be fair.
Yeah.
Just got my number and rang me, said, I'm going to put you in touch with Warsaw. I was like, yeah, sound like, didn't really expect anything from it. Then got a phone call from Mick Holsall, who was...
Mr. Holsall, yeah.
What a guy, by the way.
Yeah, he's a Wolves prop now.
Yeah, really good guy. I come across him when he was at Wolves as well. He went to Wolves, didn't he? But yeah, Mick was great with me. And
he was my coach growing up.
Was he? Yeah, really good guy. He said, we'd want to bring you in. So went to Warsaw and I said, look, well, I'm at school, like I'm at sixth form, so I can't really come, but October half term's coming up, can I come then? And he was like, yes, I'm coming for a week. So I went and trained for a week, and that's when they had Clayton Ince was first choice, and they had Rene, and I was there for a week. And at the end of it, Mick played a game against Aki for the youth team on the Saturday, and then Mick sort of pulled me after the game, was like, look, we want you to sign. And so I said, well, yeah, I'm happy to sign, but I'm not prepared to kind of walk away from my A-levels. Like, I still want to stay in education. Yeah. That's still kind of an avenue that I want to keep going. So he said, look, okay, well, play for the youth team on Saturday. Don't worry about training. We'll figure it out kind of as we go along. So sort of went back sixth form in the week, playing for the youth team on a Saturday. So did that for probably up until Christmas. So for like a couple of months. So like I said, was playing for the youth team. And then over Christmas, I started training with the first team. So when I was obviously had time off school, I'd go and train. So I went and trained with the first team. Jimmy Mullen was the manager. Yeah. And trained over Christmas. And then I remember Jimmy Mullen pulled me into his, he was like, oh, can you come and see me, kid, or something? And I was like, do you know what I mean? Just like shit scared. Like, obviously got out, and he was like, where have you been? Like, I explained the situation, and he was like, oh, no, you need to be training with us. Like, we want you with us. So kind of got to that point after Christmas. It's like, well,
it gives you an ultimatum.
Yeah, my A-levels are coming in 6 months. So I sort of spoke to them at school and kind of said, look, like, getting involved with the first team, they wanted me to play resi games because Clayton was Trinidadian international. Yeah. So when he went on international duty, I was then on the bench for the first team, was playing resi games. So they said, we need you here training with us. So I sort of went to school and said, look, like, this is the situation. Like, I want to do my A-levels, but I've got this opportunity in professional football. And as a kid, I always wanted to be a footballer. But then in that period of sort of 15, 16, 17 was kind of like, okay, like, it's not going to happen. And not turn my back on it, but just didn't really have that same kind of probably drive with it. Yeah. Really, just didn't really think that opportunity was going to come. So now I had it again. Was like, okay, like, I want to run with this. So we sort of kind of came to an agreement where I'd miss a couple of days here and there of sixth form, and spoke to all my teachers, and they were like, look, email the work or do the work. I was staying in digs. She said, do the work in digs, email it back to us, and as long as your grades stay up, then we're fine. So I started doing that, was involved with the first team, on the bench a few times in League One.
Who was in the first team then?
So that would have been, oh God, who was it? Paul Bertien, Chrissy Palmer, Michael Ricketts, Jabo Ibere, Dwayne Mattis. Oh God, some names I've completely forgotten about. So that was the first team then, and come to the end of the season, Jimmy Mullen got sacked in February, and Chris Hutchins and Martin O'Connor came in.
Oh, okay.
So Chris Hutchins came in, and at the end of the season, it was kind of time for the lads to get their pros. So my youth team was like Will Grigg, Jamie Patterson, who's just gone out to MLS. There's a few other boys that were decent, to be fair. Really sort of good. Darryl Westlake went and played a few games, I think, for Stags. And then it was kind of decision time, are the lads getting pros? So my kind of decision got delayed because I was involved with the first team. I think Clayton got injured, so they didn't really want to tell me either way. I think wait sort of towards the season finished. And while this was all going on, I had an opportunity to go to America. So I had, I'd start speaking to a university in America, Duke University, which academically is one of the...
Did you reach out? Did they reach out?
No, so the way that came about was the manager, they talk about sliding doors, the manager that took me to Hina Town, he had a company that sent kids to America.
Yeah.
So we got chatting once, probably having a beer at 16 or something with him. And we got chatting and he said, talking about my grades, and he was like, have you ever thought about going to America? Sort of explained about it. So kind of put the wheels in motion. So I told him what my grades were and he was like, okay, we need to be aiming for like one of the top ones with you. So then I had this going on in the background. I'd spoken to Duke University. I went out there in May, in half term, to sort of see what it was about. Never been to the States before. And they said, look, we want to offer you like a full scholarship to come here. So the facilities out there, it's like being at a pro club.
Yeah.
It's unreal. You're training every morning. So you're living the life of a pro footballer, but then also you get in your
probably
education.
a Premiership club as well.
Oh yeah. The money that they have in college sports out there is unreal.
Yeah.
So it was kind of, I get my education, but then I'm also pursuing like football. And
You're still living the dream. You're still doing it.
exactly, keeping football going. So came to the end of the season with Walsall and Chris Hutchins pulled me in and just said, look, like, I don't really want to carry 3 keepers, but we feel like we need to keep you at the football club. We'd sort of be talking 100 quid a week. Like, we'd want you to stay for a year, but understand, like, you'd be third choice. Like, we're going to run with Clayton and Reg. So I was like, 100 quid a week. Like, I think I was getting 55 quid a week in the youth team.
He's underselling you, isn't he?
And it was
like someone's pushed the buttons on him to say, we want him at the club. You know, longevity, this is the guy. But he's not really bought into that.
No, so it was, again, like we spoke about with short-termism with managers, if he can chuck that 100 quid a week, or if he can save 300 quid a week to top up a striker that he can get in that's going to keep him in the job. But so it was one of them where it was like, okay, well, I've got this unbelievable opportunity to go to America. If I didn't have the opportunity, I'd probably taken it. I'd have gone, okay, well, if I wanted to go to uni, I could defer and go a year later if football didn't work out in that. But as soon as you sign a pro here, you can't then go to America because you have to be like amateur status to play at uni. So if I'd have signed a pro, because when I went, so obviously decided to go out to America, and when I went out there, I was actually suspended for the first 2 games because the NCAA is like the governing body. So they had said that because I'd trained and played with professionals, I had to be suspended for the first 2 games, which was mad. But anyway, I made the decision to go to America, so I flew out there in August, and so the deal sort of there, because obviously you're not allowed to get paid, you're a student athlete, was, look, we'll give you a full scholarship, so we'll pay for your education, your accommodation, food, books, tuition, everything. So the equivalent, that's like $75,000 a year. So they have like scholarship donors, like alumni that would pay money to obviously these kids to come and on sports scholarships. So someone paid $75,000. So they said, look, we'll give you that for the first year, but if you don't become our like number 1 goalkeeper, we're going to have to pull that funding for your second year because we can't afford, because they could only give out 10 full scholarships in the team, and we had a squad of like 25, 30 lads. So it's like we need to use that money to recruit someone else. So again, it's another risk at 18. You're thinking, right, okay, well, really what I wanted, it kind of guaranteed 4 years. I was like, okay. I said, look, as long as I'm going to get an opportunity.
So what would you do after that first year if you weren't successful as number 1?
So then at that point, I'm assuming I would have come back.
Really?
Because I couldn't afford this $75,000.
No.
$250,000.
It wouldn't cost you anything to try a year.
No. Yeah. The only thing you had to pay for was flights and then spending money when you're out.
Yeah.
So went out there, and so I didn't play those first 2 games, and then quite fortunate, again, sliding doors, the keeper that was probably supposed to play ahead of me, he cut a tendon in his hand, in the kitchen, just like slicing something. So he was in like this cast, and so they played like what would have been the 3rd choice keeper in the first 2 games, and then I played after those 2 games, and then from there played every game for 4 years. So
wow.
And it ended up being really sort of successful kind of time for me, really. And you know what? Absolutely loved my time out there. Like, I met some unbelievable people. And if you think, right, you're going to a uni that's worth, kids are paying $75,000 a year, like the kind of like clientele you kind of roll in is. Like,
being an English lad as well, going out there at that time, I bet you was the Hugh Grant of the...
That story's for a different podcast. But yeah, so went, remember when I first went out there, one of the lads was staying in a hotel, and I flew out there. I think I flew out like a couple of weeks before we had to start pre-season, just to kind of get used to it. A few of the lads were there or whatever. And he was like, oh, we're going to drive up to Virginia. So I was in North Carolina. drive up to Virginia to see one of the lads. And it was, it's a 4-hour drive. So anyway, getting his big X5, drives up. Obviously 4-hour drive to Virginia, pulls into this estate. Mate, honestly, I know we joked about like butlers and that, and the size of these gaffs, unreal.
P. Diddy was throwing a party there.
A topical one, that, yeah. But yeah, the size of these gaffs, honestly, and you sort of walked in, and then I remember speaking to the guy's dad that was there, and was like, "Oh, what are you boys doing tomorrow?" So I've not really got any plans. We just come to see. And he was like, "Oh, do you want tickets to see DC United Real Madrid?" And we were like, "Yeah." So I ended up in one of the boxes at DC United. It was when the summer that Ronaldo had signed. So it was when they signed Ronaldo and Kaká. So just went out to see them, and yeah, then obviously went back to uni, and we started pre-season. And so the way it works in America, your season, so they have fall sports and spring sports. So soccer is a fall sport. So we started pre-season in August. Classes would start like September, and then your games would run through till Christmas. Basically, you have your national championship. So you play, like, it's quite an intense schedule. It's like, I remember Tuesday, Friday every week, and you'd be playing all over. So if we were playing in LA, you'd be flying to LA. So
why a Friday?
Then just our schedule was a Friday night. But it was good because obviously you're getting weekends off pretty much religiously. If you've been dicked, sometimes you might be dragged in Saturday morning.
Yeah.
But yeah, did that and really, really enjoyed my time there. Then you sort of come home for Christmas, then go back in the spring for obviously your spring semester. But then there weren't any like competitive games in the spring.
Yeah.
So the spring was like an extended pre-season almost. So you'd have like 3 fitness days a week.
But you were still doing your education.
Still doing your education. So you're going back obviously to the education. You play a few friendlies in the spring. But it was more kind of, that's when you could kind of sort of take your harder classes because you're not playing twice a week. So we had all the help in the world, like in like the athlete academic centre. So there were people designed to just help the athletes' schedules. So when you're picking your classes, it's like, right, okay, well, let's not take this in the fall because you've got games. Let's take your harder classes in the spring. Or I needed to overload because I needed to take extra classes because I needed to graduate early if I wanted to go into the MLS. So there's all these kind of plates that are spinning, and the way it works in America, it's not like here, whereas here you apply to Leeds University to do economics, or you apply to Manchester to do whatever, whereas there you apply to Duke University and you don't decide your degree, or they call it a major, you don't decide your degree until the end of your second year.
Yeah.
So what they say, in order to graduate, you have to pick like so many maths classes, so many language classes, so many arts and performance classes. So
it is a good way to do it, isn't it?
Yeah, so it gives you a more rounded kind of education.
I think the English games missed that kind of level to detail to education. That's why I wanted to get you on as well, like the importance of education. I think when I was progressing through the ranks at Walsall, on my scholarship, I was getting like £35 and a half a day at Walsall College.
Yeah.
But back then, that £35 would get me some new clobber for the Saturday night. Would get me in the taxi uptown.
Yeah. No, and I think that's the big difference between like the English game here and the way the American kind of collegiate system set up, because not just with soccer, but with like the NFL and the NBA as well. So to go into the NBA, you have to go to college for 1 year first, before you go into the NBA. The NFL, it's 3 years. So they're making these young athletes go to college, get education. And don't get me wrong, like the colleges that they're going to, like over there, you put on ESPN and it's like university sports, or like headline, like the basketball team of my uni is probably the biggest program in the country.
Really?
One of the most renowned. So the lads are just like superstars. Yeah. So you're watching them on ESPN and then you're in like an arts class with them the next day and stuff. It's honestly, it's insane.
Yeah.
But in terms of mine, like obviously played there for 4 years, but the MLS season starts in January. So at the end of my 4th year, when I was going to graduate, had to graduate in the December. So I had to do all my classes. So I decided to major in history just because I didn't really have kind of a path for what I wanted to do. I didn't want to pigeonhole myself into anything like biomed or anything like that, because first of all, the effort and the time it would take to do that and play football and balance kind of your studies and stuff is almost impossible.
So at this point, you were still very much thinking, I want to play football.
Yeah, at this point now, I think I had the taste at Warsaw, was doing really well in America, having like national kind of.
And I'll just say Walsall's a great shout as well, because they had Jimmy Walker for a number of years.
Yeah.
He was never the tallest keeper.
No.
But he went on to have great success at West Ham.
Yeah, I just missed him, and like I said, I don't really know. I've listened to a few of his podcasts. It seems like a boy, like a good lad.
Proper bloke.
But yeah, so I didn't really know what I wanted to kind of major in, so stuck with history, was interested in history, ended up writing my thesis on that. And then you could also do, so in America they have a major and a minor. So a major is 10 classes, a minor is 5 classes.
Yeah.
So you can major in something, then minor in something else. But they also had a certificate, which is 7 classes. So that's like another degree. So I decided to do a certificate in business markets and management. So 17 of my 32 classes that I needed were in history and then business. So, and I had to do that in 3.5 years instead of 4 years.
And is that like 5 days, 9 till 3, or what is it?
So so the lectures would be, so when you're scheduling your classes, some lectures will start at 8 and some will finish at 10 at night.
Oh, right.
So when you're picking your classes, you get a slot to pick your classes, and it comes up, it's like timetable, and you pick, right, okay, I'm going to do this there, that there, balance your timetable, blah, blah, blah. But we had to train every morning. So we couldn't take a class before, I think it was 11:40 was like the first class we could take. So we literally be finishing training at 11, sprinting back to the changing rooms, getting showered, grabbing some food after training, sprinting to lectures, and then you could be in lectures from 11:40 till 10 at night, depending on your schedule. And because I had to, like I said, that spring semester in my last year, I wasn't going to be there. So those 4 classes that I was going to take then, I had to take them throughout those.
That's some adventure though, isn't it?
Oh, it's incredible.
Especially when you're young and you got that energy and you're doing it all, you're living the life.
Oh, when I look back now, like it was hard at 18, obviously leaving home, never really left home.
I couldn't do it. I wouldn't be able to do it. It was a consideration for me as well, going out there.
Okay.
And my brother's lad now, he's 15, so he's at that point, and he's literally said, I think I might want to go to America and play. But for me, I was too much of a mama's boy. I couldn't be home, so I was like, I need to get in the football league somehow.
Yeah.
The years just go so quick, doesn't it, when you're chasing something?
Yeah, but the lifestyle out there, like, obviously the football, the education, and then like the social, like the university part. It's not quite like Project X or anything you see on those films, but
it's exactly how I imagine it.
Yeah, but they are, because you can't drink until you're 21.
Oh, of course, yeah.
But so all the like, you're at like someone's apartment.
I was in WS1 in Walsall at 15, partying.
Yeah, I was out with the Hina lads at 16. Yeah, someone's ID. Yeah, but yeah, you'd be at like a frat house, or you'd be at a party or something, and then you'd sort of go out later on, and then when you went to the bars, like you could get in at 18, but if you're 18, you got a massive X on your hand. If you're 21, you got a wristband.
Yeah.
But there's ways you can obviously get.
It's not a bad thing, is it, to look after the youth, I suppose?
No, and I mean that's obviously what they're used to, isn't it? Out there, but no, you
see pictures of our culture where people are throwing up in bins and lying on the floors and everything.
Yeah. I saw that in Cannock as I come through here. Welcome to Cannock side.
Yeah. I went to see my brother. He must be one of them.
But no, it was unreal. And then that obviously led me into kind of the MLS stuff. And yeah, it was brilliant.
So what kind of friendships you built? I read online that you've got an NBA pal.
Yeah, so Mason was in my year, Mason Plumley. And I don't know how that's ended up on Wikipedia. The amount of people that messaged me saying, I had a look at it, just said James is good friends with Mason, like good friends or in quotation marks. Now Mason he was in my year. I wouldn't say we were like best friends, but we'd speak and like speak on it, message him on Instagram every now and then now. But I think he just signed for Phoenix. He's had a decent sort of NBA career. But the main sort of friendship. So I live with a guy from just outside Dallas, Texas. Yeah. So him and his twin brother are on the team as well, Ryan and Christian. So their mum and dad were kind of like I call them like my American mum and dad, because they like really looked after me when I went out there, and they sorted us out. Because obviously you're sharing like a room and then an apartment, so they went and got all the stuff that we needed for the apartment. Yeah. They sorted me out like even like a phone contract. So I was on their like family plan for like the phone contracts and that.
Because it is a different world, isn't it? Essentially,
it is. But
different currency, different everything.
They were brilliant with me, and their friendships that I've kept till today. It's funny enough, I speak to them this week.
Quality.
They all came over for my wedding a couple of years ago.
Quality.
And then his twin brother, he roomed with a golfer.
Yeah.
So there was 4 golfers on the team that were out here. So there were 7 of us that was kind of like our little group, and the golfers, a couple of them, I think one of us played like a couple of majors, and when they're playing over here, went to the BMW a couple of years ago to see one of them play. So they're there's a couple of them that are still trying to sort of make a career in golf.
It's amazing how your paths cross, isn't it?
Yeah, but even with them, like obviously, look, they're all based stateside, so I hardly see them. But because of the way social media is, Instagram, you see what they're doing every now and.
Have you gone back since or not?
Yeah, I've been back.
You took the missus or anything over there?
I haven't taken the missus. I want to take the little one as well because I haven't been back to my university since I left. So like I left 2013. So what, 11 years now? Wow, yeah. So I've not been back to university, and I've seen online like all the changes they've made to like the sports, the gym, everything. I mean, it was unreal when I was there, but now it's just an absolute joke.
Yeah.
Like it would top anything that any of the Prem sides have here. It's incredible. So I've obviously been back to Texas to see the lads. I've been back, met them in New York. I've been over a few times, been to Vegas, but haven't been back to the university. That's something I said to Mrs. when little one's probably a little bit older.
Yeah, of course.
Want to go back because the coaches and the managers that were there when I was there, they're still there now. So I caught up with them a couple of years ago. It's amazing how time flies, isn't it? I caught up with them a couple of years ago. So I want to go back and see them. Again, it's just figuring out, obviously with my schedule, like we only get 8 weeks off in the summer. Like I was saying to my missus.
And you've got to pick and choose what you do at that time.
So we've got like our holiday we want to do, take little one away. We've got friends we want to go away with. Mrs. family are from Ireland. We want to go back to Ireland.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden that's 3 weeks, and then you've got 5 weeks left. The little one's birthday, that's another week gone. So
I think the first 2 weeks as well, you just want to recharge and kind of like get your body back to some
100%. But you can't book anything for May because of playoffs.
Yeah.
Because you could technically be going till the end of May. So it's like you've only really got June you can kind of book stuff in. So obviously if you're forking out a couple of grand or whatever to go over to the States, and you want to make sure you can do it. So it's just kind of figuring out into that sort of footballer schedule.
You can't plan anything, can you?
No.
That's why like the Prem boys sometimes when they've got international duty, they're trying to get away for a few days.
When you're on 300 grand a week, you can pay for you can charter a plane to Dubai next day, can't you? But us, we're struggling. But no, it was brilliant. Loved it out there, and then obviously led into the MLS, which was an experience as well.
Well, I can imagine. So how long did you break into the MLS? How long was you there for? I want to ask, when you come back to the English game as well, you found yourself in non-league.
Yeah. So the way it works, so I graduated in December 2013, and then for those few years I was in America, when I was home in the summer, there's a few like, not agents, but kind of people I was speaking to in football. So I actually had some unbelievable experiences. When I was back, I went to Tottenham and trained for a week. So they had Friedel, Gomez, Cudicini, Gareth Bale, Scott Parker, Jermaine Defoe, Crouchy, so trained there for a week. Young Harry Kane, and unbelievable. And then went to Wolves, went to Villa, Everton. So we're just going for a week's training, just say, look, this kid back from America, can he come in at Christmas or in the summer? Can he come in for a week? And all these clubs were like,
yes. Road trials there.
Yeah. So
he must have been shit to not get one of the.
Gonna say waiting for that contract to drop in, but no. So I had some unbelievable experiences, and then went to. So the way it works in the MLS, so they have the MLS draft every year, where the best players from university, the team that finishes bottom the year before gets the first pick. So they get to pick. So it's trying to even everything out in the MLS. There's no promotion, relegation. It's just kind of team that finishes bottom gets the first pick. So they get to pick the best player. So it would be like Mbappe going to Leicester. Like that's kind of how the comparison.
British culture would not work.
No, but you just accept it.
Yeah.
Like you don't like question it. You just accept it. So I think it was the top 80 players get invited to what they call a combine. So that was Fort Lauderdale in Florida. So I went down to Florida in the January for the combine, and that's a week-long training camp. So you train, and then you have 3 games. There's split into 4 teams. Yeah. You play 3 games against each other, and then all the MLS coaches are there. And while you're there, the MLS coaches can schedule meetings with you. So you get a text on your phone saying, "Oh, the New England Revolution want to meet with you at 6 o'clock in X room or whatever." So I met New England Revolution. I think I met with a Columbus crew as well. I had 2 meetings when I was there.
I can imagine they've all got baseball caps on.
The scarf across like that. Yeah,
it's a proper sales pitch from them.
So I went in and I had these meetings and that, and they just chat. They just want to find a bit about you. Like, I guess if they're thinking about drafting you again, they want to just see kind of what you like as a person. How do you come across?
You're exciting me. I think I might want to go out there and
I think that boat stay on Pez. I'm sorry, mate. But yeah, and then so you have that, and then they have the draft, which is a week later. So you go and have the draft. So it's like you see in the NFL, the NBA, the top prospects who are projected to go in the first couple of rounds, they get invited to it.
Yeah.
And then it is literally so-and-so's on the clock. So I think the New England Revolution had the first pick. So they're on the clock. They get 2 minutes to make a pick and then it goes down like that. So the lads there, they're going up onto the stage holding.
So it's a bit like transfer deadline day, possibly, with that there.
Yeah, pretty much. And you're kind of finding out where you're getting drafted to.
Yeah.
Because when you get drafted, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're signing you. It means they have the right to sign you. So they get first refusal.
So do you have to sign something before all this to say that you're prepared to be drafted? Because you can't just get up, move your stuff and move across the country.
But you don't have to go. So
Right.
basically, you sign a contract with the MLS. So some of the top prospects had already signed contracts with the MLS.
Contract
So they
with the
knew
league.
what they were going to get paid.
Yeah.
So then every team has a salary cap. So then they know if they draft you, your contract is worth X amount. So that has to fit
Yeah.
into their salary cap. Whereas that would probably only happen for, I'd say, 10 of the players.
Yeah.
Everyone else would get drafted and then would have to like earn a contract or they then discuss.
It's literally like the fantasy league game, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly that.
Yeah.
So then, anyway, I'm watching the first 2 rounds are televised, 16 picks around 32 picks. My name doesn't come up. So I was like projected, they have projected picks. It was like, I was projected as like the top goalkeeper available. But what was holding me back is because I would occupy an international slot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Each team only had 8 international slots. So if you're picking, let's be honest, a second or even a third choice keeper, you don't want to use an international slot on
Yeah.
goalkeeper. So
But would a lot of the strikers be the first picks on?
yeah, strikers, the obviously your kind of guys, the people that stick the ball in the back of the net.
I'd still be waiting now, I think.
No, big target, man. Yeah, first pick. Yeah. But yeah, so my name didn't get called in that, and then the next few rounds are done online. So then they were done. I think it was the day after or something. The next few rounds are done. So I'm literally sat watching Twitter when the next few rounds are coming up, and then it just came up on Twitter with the 49th pick, the Chicago Fire select James Belshaw, goalkeeper, Duke University. So I'm like, I'm going to Chicago. So then 2 minutes later, phone rings. Hi, James, it's so-and-so from Chicago. You're on a flight at 5, I was like 5:30 in the morning. This was like 7 o'clock at night. It's like, you're on a flight at 5:30 in the morning out of Raleigh, Durham. The team are at a training camp in Florida. You're going to join up with the team tomorrow morning. So I was like, well, okay, I'm going to Florida then. So anyway, packed my stuff, did like a 2-week training camp in Florida, and then you'd get a couple of days off. So at that first training camp, so they had 2 goalkeepers signed on. They had Sean Johnson, who's played a few times for the US national team, and then another guy, I forget his name, Paolo, I think his name was, can't remember his last name. But they were signed, and then they had me and 3 other keepers. So I walked in and there's like a squadron of goalies, and I'm like, oh my God, what's happening here? So anyway, after that first camp, one of the goalies got cut. So then there's 3 of us. So then next camp was in LA. So flew to LA, had a camp in LA, got rid of another keeper. Then the last camp was in South Carolina. So flew to South Carolina, me and this other keeper. And this is sort of probably end of Feb time. And then I got pulled in by the goalkeeper coach and said, look, we want to offer you a deal. So I'm like, okay, buzzing, like great. And so the way it works in the MLS, the way it worked back then, the minimum contract offer was $33,000 a year. So that was minimum. And what the deal was and what they'd do with first years would be they'd give you a 3-year deal, but each year was an option in favour of the MLS. So I think it went 33, then like 42, and then it was 52. So the last one...
What age was you there?
22.
Okay, yeah.
So the last year would have been $1,000 a week, basically. But the way it worked, because it was an option year, what would happen to a lot of lads, so I'd have been 3rd choice keeper there.
Yeah.
If you don't play in the first year, they don't take your option up, but then they'll re-offer you the minimum. You see what I mean? So you think, oh, well, next year I'm going to be on 40 something, next year I'm on 50 something. I don't know what the minimum is now, probably 60, 70, something like that. It's obviously changed loads. So I was like, oh, okay, when do you need to kind of know by? I was like, we need to know by tomorrow. So I'm a 22-year-old kid. I'm on a training camp in South Carolina. I'm like, right, I've got to find a place to live. Like, if I'm going to be in Chicago,
Of course,
didn't have any money to my name because I'd obviously had my education paid for. I'd worked a little bit when I was home. Didn't have any savings behind me or anything really. So it's like, right, I can't really afford.
They've all got trust funds over there.
Oh yeah, can't really afford to buy a car. So it's like, well, I've got to live somewhere where I can get a train to train in, or I can get a bus to train in. Got to live quite central because I need to be able to walk to places to get stuff. So I'm looking at rent in Chicago, and you're looking like $3,000 a month in rent for an apartment in Chicago. I was like, I'm not even getting that. Like, I can't, like, literally could not afford.
Doesn't make sense, does it?
So it was like, well, what do I do now? do I take it and gamble? But then I was speaking to an agent at the time who said, look, Walsall are interested in you coming back. So there's not a contract there, but they want you in to train and stuff. So I'm like, right, okay. The Chicago thing was a non-starter just because I couldn't do it.
So this is 4 years later from your initial stint?
Initial stint, yeah. So I've gone back to Dean Smith was the manager then.
Yeah.
So Dean Smith was the manager. John Whitney was still there as physio. So he was kind of the only member of staff that was still there.
Yeah.
So decided, right, okay, I'm going to walk away from America.
Did he already have a stint as manager at that time, or was he?
No, that was after. That's something I didn't see coming, by the way.
Yeah.
And so went back, flew back, and then got in touch with Walsall and went into training with Walsall back end of that season. So this was like end of Feb, League One. So they had Sam Johnston on loan. So he was number one. And then, so training with them, doing well, played a few resi games. And then at the end of the season, again, wasn't getting paid anything, no expenses, was travelling in with Craig Westcar from Nottingham. So we're both travelling in.
Yeah.
So I'm not getting any money. So I'm having to do little bits. Parents are obviously helping me out and that. And then at the end of that season, he was like, right, okay, yeah, there's going to be something for you. We'll sort it out. So I'm thinking, all right, like maybe a bit of naivety. Again, didn't really have an agent at the time, was just kind of doing everything myself. Phone call never came. And you're thinking, right, I'm going to have to find something here. So that summer, I ended up, madly enough, going to Russia. So I went to Russia with, there's a reason. I didn't just up sticks and go sign for CSKA. But I represented Great Britain in the World University Games. So it's the second biggest multi-sport event after the Olympics. So it's basically the Olympics, but for university students. So I represented Great Britain in that. So flew to Moscow for a training camp at CSKA's training base, and then we went to Kazan for the game. So I went there, and that as an experience was unbelievable. Like, staying in the athlete village, we had Algeria, Italy, and Malaysia in our group, and we ended up getting to the final. We lost to France, and we beat Russia in the semis on pens, lost to France in the final in extra time 3-2. But that was... Did
any of the lads in that English team make it?
Yeah, so that Joe Lolly went to Forest, and then he's now in Australia now.
Yeah.
Then there's a few that bounced around sort of lower leagues, but again, just good, like, steady away lads that did well. So we went...
One experience, though.
So that was incredible. And then the manager of that team, when I came back, I'd explained about the Walsall thing. So this was like July, so pre-season had started. And he was like, I know Kev Wilkin at Nuneaton. I'll put you in touch with him. So I'm like, all right, okay, sound. So I spoke to Kev Wilkin, went to, and then he said, look, come in, we want to have a look at you. So I went to a couple of training sessions, played a couple of pre-season games for Nuneaton. And I remember him sitting me down. We played Lem away. He sat me down in the dugouts, and he was like, yeah, so we want to sign you. So I'm thinking, buzzing here. So by this point, I'd started working at that job I was telling you about. So I started working, earning a few quid, nothing special. And then I'm thinking, right, oh my God, like, here we go. So he's like, right, I want to sign you. So I'm thinking...
What level was that? Nuneaton then?
Conference
yeah.
Prem. It was the year it was Skrill that year. So in the Conference Prem, he was like, what sort of money are you thinking? And I'm thinking in my head, I was like, do I be cheeky and ask for like 150 quid a week? Because like the most I've got paid was 50 quid a week when I was like, right, thinking 150 quid a week, like 600 quid a month buzzing. Luckily, I stopped myself and I was like, I said, well, what sort of money do you pay? Like, because I genuinely didn't know.
Yeah.
And he was like, well, we're probably like averaging around like the 300 quid mark, I'd say, a week. And I was like, okay. So just said then. So then I just said to them, I said, look, well, if you want me to come in and start, I said, I want to be 300 quid a week. Yeah. So that's kind of where I want to be.
I think that's a life lesson. Let them do the talking.
Yeah.
You never throw in an offer.
Yeah,
I was at a football club where a player was getting released.
Yeah.
And I was going to see the manager and that after him. And I was sitting in the waiting room and he was like, look, if I can get 5k, I'll walk today, I'll be happy. They said they're going to write me a check. I'm going to go and say, just give me 5k. And he's come out and he's red as anything. And I'm like, shit, he's gone to the toilet. I'll go to the toilet.
Yeah.
And I've gone in. He said, they wouldn't let me talk. I says, oh, mate, I'm gutted for you. And he says, no, they've given me 40k. They wouldn't let me talk.
It's mad, isn't it?
Yeah.
There's so many stories like that. Yeah.
Ridiculous.
Big life lesson there, yeah. So then, anyway, came back and I signed for 300 quid a week at Nuneaton with like bonuses and that. And that was a mad time. So they had Dimitar Evtomov on loan from Forest.
Yeah.
So I went there and basically for the first like 2 months of the season, we rotated. So he'd play one game, I'd play one game. He'd play one game, I'd play. and that's the way it worked. And then he ended up breaking his finger. So then I ended up playing. So played that season for Nuneaton in Conference Prem. Played, I don't know, about 30 odd games.
So it's a bit of luck, isn't it? Bit of luck, right place, right time for you, and with these other keepers, you know.
And then at the end of that season, and Nuneaton, I remember they came to me and they were like, right, we want you to stay, but we're going to offer you 150 quid a week. I was like, well, mate, I'm not going to take that. And it was like, oh, well, because I was 23 at the time. It was like, well, we're not offering you the same money, so you can leave without compensation.
He must have got word that you was going to take 150.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, pissed off that he'd obviously not paid me that. But ended up going to Tamworth then. Remember Dale Belford ringing me, him and Steve Farmer just taking a job at Tamworth. They just got relegated.
Yeah.
So they'd gone from full-time to part-time. So Cam had obviously left and they were looking for a keeper. So they said, oh, we want to bring you in. So I think they signed off the Nuneaton squad that year. And that was mad. Started that season. I was talking to Dale about it the other week. Won 1, lost 1, drew 9, first 11 games. So we'd only lost 1 game, but only won 1 game. And Dale ended up getting sacked. And then that's when Andy Morell and Mike Fowler came in.
Oh, right, okay.
So Moz came in and they were great with me. And that was when Nuneaton probably didn't really enjoy it as much.
Tamworth?
No, Nuneaton didn't really enjoy it, but at Tamworth, loved it.
Yeah.
The lads that we had, the group of lads, was unreal. And I think as a result, my performances kind of really sort of stepped up. So I started playing really well. And that first season, we just missed out on the playoffs.
What are you now, mid-20s or something?
Yeah, 25.
So you're coming into yourself, aren't you?
Yeah, so kind of aware of, okay, I've played, not any sort of, played a few games now, kind of know what I'm about. And then, obviously, then at that year, ended up signing a bigger contract there. And then halfway through that season, I had a few messages from Football League clubs. So people I knew at Football League clubs, like, oh, what's your situation?
How's everyone getting your phone number? You getting
I don't know, Yellow Pages or something. Yeah, or someone's got hold of it. Yeah, but or people are getting in touch with me anyway, and they've but with the Football League stuff, I at the time again didn't have an agent, was doing it all myself. Was thinking, right, okay, well, if I'm out of contract, these clubs are going to want me in on trial. I had the experience with Walsall and that, I can't quit my job for a trial. And no one's gonna.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, well, if I sign a contract to Tamworth, if someone really wants me, they're gonna buy me. I'm thinking, looking back at it now, who's gonna buy a 25-year-old goalkeeper that's never played in the Football League?
Yeah.
You're going to get an 18, 19-year-old or something and work with them. So anyway, stayed at Tamworth. Ended up doing 3 years there, but like I said, really, really enjoyed it. Really good people. We missed out on the playoffs within the last kind of few weeks of the season each year, and then. Coming to the end of my 3rd year was what we touched on earlier. My 3rd year at Tamworth was where I was working. I just started a coaching business. So me and Fowles actually, I pretty much set it up. Fowles kind of guided me through it. And then I had that in Nottingham. That started doing really well. Had my job. So I'd had Tamworth, well, it's like we've said, it's Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, but it's full time.
Yeah.
I had my full-time job and I had my coaching business. And with my job, I ended up working. I remember working away in Frankfurt. So we're doing a trade show in Frankfurt. Played Curzon-Ashton on the Saturday. Drove from Curzon-Ashton all the way to Frankfurt in a van. Picked my boss up on the way. Set up for a trade show. We had Kiddie away on the Tuesday night. Was at this trade show Monday, Tuesday. Got a flight from Frankfurt back to Brum. Got picked up. Taken to Kiddie. Played the game. Flew back to Frankfurt the next morning. Yeah. So this is the kind of schedule I'm on. I was just honestly
rock and roll lifestyle.
Just burnt out. So made that decision then to quit my job. And at the time I'd heard that Harrogate were going full time and that they were interested in speaking to me. So the way that came about, I sort of said to Tamworth, look, I'm going to quit my job, I'm going to look to leave. So then Moz sort of left me out the side. He offered me a deal to stay. But I was like, look, it was less money. It's I can't take that. And then I actually messaged Lloyd Kerry on Twitter. So just messaged Lloyd and just said, have you got your manager's number? And
so he was already there, was he?
So Lloydie was there. So Lloydie had left Tamworth. And he was the only one, I'd never played with Lloyd, but played against him loads. And obviously kind of lives not far from me in that. So I just dropped a text to Simon Weaver. Just said, hi Simon, it's James Belshaw. Looking for a club next year. Would you be interested? And he was like, yeah, perfect. Let's have a chat. So I had a couple of chats with him. Explained about my situation. I met him at Meadowhall at Costa there. We had a chat about kind of his plans for the club, where he sort of going, my situation, what I wanted to do, and then ended up overall I was probably on about half the money I was on before, when you consider like my Tamworth money and my job to obviously go to Harrogate. But I was 26 at the time, coming up to 27. I was like, look, I need to give this a go. Like, I know it's not a football league, but I need to, first of all, my lifestyle needs to change mentally because I'm just burnt out, and I need to give this a shot.
Time's the mouse value, isn't it?
Yeah, I think
the balance.
Again, looking back now, it was a brilliant decision.
Unbelievable.
But at the time, you think it's such a risk. Like,
nobody saw Harrogate get into the football league and staying there at that point.
But I just bought a house, so I bought my first house, so it's like by myself. So it's like it was a massive risk.
Yeah.
But anyway, we did that, and I said we went part-time, Salford went part-time, and we had like a ding-dong kind of battle all year to finish top. And obviously, only one team's automatically one's in the playoffs. So we finished second, and then we beat Chorley, playoff semi-final. And that's where you played it at the ground of the team that finished highest.
Yeah.
So we beat Chorley at our place. Then we played Brackley in the final at our place. And I knew a lot of those lads from when I was at Nuneaton.
Yeah.
So like Gaz Dean, Adam Walker, Jimmy Armstrong, all them. We beat them in the final to go to the National League in my first year. So you think, right, okay, back in the National League. Then that first year we got to the playoffs and lost to Fylde in like the playoff semi-final.
Where was the playoff semi, son?
That was at Fylde ground,
right?
Because again, it's the team that finished higher in the league. So we lost to Fylde, and then year after was COVID year when it finished in Feb. So we were second in Feb, Barrow were top, and that was when obviously the world shut down. So we had kind of such a strange like few months, because everyone was like, right, is the league going to get binned? Are they going to continue it? Are we playing behind closed doors? Is there going to be playoffs? And we're thinking like, obviously the Prem obviously went back, the Champ went back, League One and League Two. So we're thinking, right, it's going to be null and void here. But then there's some things you see on Twitter all the time. I remember our group WhatsApp's just like, they're saying, there's some people saying, well, you still need to promote to and you still need to relegate to, so the top two should go up. So we're thinking, come on, just chuck us up. Like, do you know what I mean? So remember, we got a text from the gaffer, can everyone be on a Zoom call at 4:00 or something? So we'd seen all this stuff on Twitter about, so it was basically to announce like the ruling. So the gaffer was like, they're going to announce the ruling later on tonight, but I want to tell you. So I've got a beer like behind the laptop, and that a few of the lads have got it. So I'm in. We were moving house at the time, me and my missus. The house was waiting to be built. We'd sold our house, so we're actually living at my mum and dad's. So I'm waiting, thinking, right, just say they're going to put two up, like we're going to be promoted here, and then obviously right lads, it's playoffs. So we were like, So you're like, okay, like at least we've got a shot at it. But the mad thing at the time, they were filming a documentary about us. So I think it was BT Sport, TNT, whatever they are now, were filming a documentary about a club through COVID, and they picked us. So they're filming all this stuff, not knowing obviously the story of what's going to happen. So then they're like, right, okay, we're going to be back in on X date. So we went back in, and it's all that kind of one-way system. You got to walk through, you're training in bubbles. So there was like a 2-week pre-season where you could only train with like 4 other lads, or like in your bubbles, and so you couldn't play games. So the keepers, we were like our own little bubble. So we did that, and then we had about 6 weeks to get ready, but we didn't play a pre-season game. We didn't play a game. There was a few. I think we had the opportunity to play Celtic. I think it was, if I remember rightly. Celtic wanted to play a friendly against us at Loughborough because they were going back for the remainder of the SPL or something like that. And the gaffer was like, I've got four defenders. Like, I can't risk an injury. It's like, we literally had a back four. Like, we had such a small squad anyway, so we didn't play any games. And then we played Boreham Wood at home in the semi-final, beat them 1-0. So obviously,
no fans.
Yeah. So that was the first game.
Yeah.
So those playoff games were the first kind of games with no fans. So then we went to Wembley. So we played Notts County at Wembley, obviously like my boyhood club. My dad's a Notts season ticket holder in that. So
what, with no one at Wembley?
No one at Wembley. Empty.
Was still at Wembley. You could have just played down the park.
Exactly, yeah. Could have played it in your back garden, the size of that. So yeah, we've gone to obviously game at Wembley, and so we had 15 tickets as a club. So that's for like your directors, for anyone. So remember, they pulled the skipper a couple of days before and said, look, we've got a spare ticket. One of the directors can't make it. Does your dad want to come? It's being obviously, dad see his son lead the lads out of Wembley. And then they had another spare ticket. So then he pulled me and was like, Belly, would your dad's obviously Notts County season ticket holder, comes to a lot of the games, like, would he want to come? So my dad was actually in the stand, and obviously there's like probably 30 people plus me, so I can obviously see where my dad is at Wembley and that. So having my dad there was incredible.
Yeah.
So yeah, walking out of Wembley and playing there, that was, you spoke about like moments when you like have a look around, like you allow yourself that moment to like look around Wembley. I know it sounds stupid, but it is massive. Do you know when you're on the pitch and it's empty and there's no one in there and your voice is echoing? It's the most eerie kind of surreal experience ever. But we went 2-0 up early on. They scored straight after half time. Then we put the game to bed about 75 minutes. We scored a third. But the good thing about it was all the missuses and all the family. So we were staying in the Hilton next to Wembley. So they'd all come down and they'd watched it. It was at the time when you could have like a meal out.
Yeah,
so
2 meters apart.
Yeah, so they had like tables set up and all the girls end up watching it on. So then they're obviously watching it at the hotel next door. So we won. And that, I think that moment was quite special because obviously like you want a full Wembley, you want family there, you want fans there, etc. But you know, because it was just us. So like when you win and everyone's like coming together and you're having that moment on the pitch and no one's like rushing over to see him or family, like it was incredible. And yeah, obviously one went back and then we had like a bit of kind of a thing with the families and that.
Surreal experience. There's not going to be many other clubs who's done it that way.
No, we actually played at Wembley twice. We played in the FA Trophy final. Yeah. That was empty as well.
I didn't know there was both empty.
Both empty, yeah. And we that was actually at the end of our first season in the Football League because they waited to play it. And so yeah, that was August, and then we ended up going back 2 weeks later.
You win the trophy?
Yeah, I won that as well, yeah. So we had 2 weeks, 2 weeks off, then went back for pre-season, and then that was Harrogate Town's first season in the EFL was the COVID year, no fans. So no fans all year. So I actually broke my thumb the first day of pre-season, so I was out for 6 weeks.
Oh, wow.
So Harrogate Town's first...
Running around a pitch, you broke your thumb?
Made a save from one of the strikers, just smashed one at me and thumb's gone.
Keeper session.
And then, so missed Harrogate Town's first Football League game.
Oh.
Ended up making my Football League debut the week I turned 30. So played Bolton in that, and then, yeah, had a full season in the EFL with Harrogate. But
that's class studies. I need to...
Yeah, so that was like...
As an example of keep chasing it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because playing your league game when you're 30.
When I was at Tamworth, like, I always think, right, you want to shoot for the stars, but you have a kind of a grasp on your ability. And I always thought, okay, well, I'm pretty sure I could play League 2. Could probably play League 1. I thought anything above that would be like a bonus if I got there. But I was like, you're kind of aware of where you are, like, on the spectrum sort of wise. So when I had that seat, and then that like realization of I'm playing in the Football League now, like, so from 2017 we're Conference North and then in the Football League. So surreal. 2 promotions in 3 years for Harrogate. So we had that season in the EFL, stayed up. Then at the end of that season, actually had a meeting with the manager, and he had sort of said, look, they were going to bring in another goalkeeper. So my performances probably weren't where they should have been. And at the end of that season, obviously hurt at the time, was like, okay, we're going to bring in another goalkeeper. If you want to leave, you can. But it was all done like, yep, if you want to leave, no problem. If you want to stay, no problem. So then...
That's class though, that is.
Yeah.
Good communication.
Yeah.
It's so it's putting it on you, isn't it? You want to be number one somewhere else.
Yeah.
You want to stay up fighting.
Yeah. So then this was at the end of the season. So they went through the summer, spoke to a few clubs, nothing kind of really materialised. I thought, well, been promoted from the National League. I thought, well, probably going to have a pick of the National League clubs, might nick a League 2 club. But just nothing was coming up. So I was with an agency at this point.
You did sign with an agent?
Yes, who have been brilliant for me. With Matt Murray at USG and Aaron Davis, they've been brilliant for me. And went back for pre-season with Harrogate, did 3 days there, and then got a call from an agent saying Bristol Rovers want to have a look.
And that was League 1 at the time?
League 2. They just got relegated, yeah.
Right, yeah.
They got relegated from League 1 to League 2. So, to be honest, when the Harrogate thing came, said I might be leaving Harrogate, I thought to my missus, well, I can get closer to home now. Harrogate's still a bit of a trek away, so get closer to home.
Notts County, you was thinking, right?
Notts County, ideally, yeah. Well, that's been close a few times.
Yeah.
And then, so the Bristol Rovers thing came up, went down there, and they said, look, they're looking for a number 2. Got Anssi Jakola in goal, who's Finland international. They want a number 2. to,
Big club as
to
well.
basically fight out. Massive club, yeah. So that's kind of the remit. So I knew that going in, but they said they want to have a look at you first.
And who was the gaffer then?
So Joe Barton was a gaffer. So I've gone down and trained for a week, played Barnet on the Saturday, and then after that I thought, right, he's going to tell me either way. Went to the goalkeeper coach, Tony Warner, who again, great guy, one of the best guys I've met in football. He said, gaffer wants to have a look at you for another week. So I'm like, okay, it's like getting later into pre-season now, like, and as a goalkeeper, it's harder because slots get filled. As soon as the slots are filled, there's nothing. Whereas if you're a striker and you haven't got a club might have 3 or 4 strikers, but they think, oh, he's available, we might take him. Whereas a goalkeeper, like, you either need one or you don't.
Yeah.
And you're not just going to carry an extra keeper. So I'm thinking, it's getting a bit late here. So anyway, did another week, played Plymouth at home. Again, this was a behind closed doors pre-season friendly. And then I remember Tony Warner coming up to me before the game, was like, look, bring your A game today. So I since found out, apparently before the game, Joey had said to him, like, don't think I'm going to take Belly. I think if I wait in the window, something will come up. And Tony Warner was a bit like, what, like, you serious? Like, you need to take him. So Tony sort of put his neck out for me and said, no, you need to sign him. So he played this game against Plymouth and played 60 minutes and come off. And you know when you've had a decent game, like showcased everything, made a couple of saves, bit of distribution, catching crosses and stuff. So you think, right, I've done everything I can. So whatever happens, so I'm driving home back up the M5, gets a phone call from Tony Warner. Yeah, Joey wants to do it. He wants to get it done. So I'm like buzzing. So anyway, deal gets sorted. There's lads at the Bristol Rovers that were on 3 times what I was on. Like, was on a lot less, but I was like, I don't care. I was on pretty much the same money I was on at Harrogate, but they were going to put me up in a house down there. So I stayed with a couple of the lads. I'm like, look, here we go. And I just fully bought into the club. Yeah. Like, it was all right. If I am a number 2, I'm going to support the number 1. I'm going to push. It's new experience, like fully bought into everything. So didn't play the first 2 games. Played Mansfield away, Stevenage at home. And then Ansi had a few injury problems. So that was like, my agent sort of said, look, he's had a few injury problems. Like, he's not played a full season. You're going to get games. So then 3rd game of the season, we're doing set pieces on a Tuesday. And Ansi's gone in. I just thought, on the Monday, before Tuesday night game, Ansi'd gone in. I just thought, he's just resting up for the game tomorrow. So then Joey started asking me, Belly, who do you want in the wall then tomorrow? And I'm thinking, why is he asking me that? And then Tony said, come up to me after and said, look, Ansi's going for a scan tomorrow. If it comes back bad, you play him. So he rang me Tuesday, I was in the hotel, rang me about lunchtime and said, yeah, you're playing tonight. So I rang mum and dad, they came down. So I played against Oldham, and before the game, Joey said to me, look, if we win, keep a clean sheet, the shirt's yours. And won 1-0. And that feeling there of like, okay, you can't obviously relax, but you're like, it was a bit of like, okay, I've done it, like, we're back in. So then we actually started really poorly with Bristol Rovers that season. There was a lot of kind of negativity from the relegation from League One to League Two, the way it kind of happened. Gaffer was taking a lot of stick, as players were getting a lot of stick, but we had a massive turnover. I think there was only like 2 or 3 players that were playing that were from the season before. It was like 16 in, 16 out, like all new faces and that. And then come to Christmas, we were 18th. I think we were 18th on New Year's Day. And I played every game, again, doing well. And then we just went on the maddest of runs.
Really?
Ever. So from the 18th, from the 1st of Jan till the end of the season, I think we lost 2 league games, possibly 3. And we were just turning up and just steamrolling teams. Like, we had the squad that we had one of the biggest budgets in the league. Really, really good squad. We signed Elliot Anderson from Newcastle on loan. Yeah. Deadline day in January. And it got to a point when it was just, he's obviously doing really well at Forest now. It was just like, give Elliot the ball. Just give him the ball. And he was just winning games for us by himself. And we went on this run. And then we got to the second to last game of the season, playing Rochdale away. And we were in the playoffs. We were just outside the top 3. And we sort of said all along, like, right, get to playoffs. But everyone was like, no, like, we're going for automatics and think, this is a big ask from where we are 18th in the league.
How many would go up automatic?
3, League 2. So we go into Rochdale and we're 3-1 down in about the 70th minute. We score 3-2. 91st minute, equalised 3-3. 93rd minute, win 4-3. Wow. Away at Rochdale, 3,000 Rovers fans down that side. They're all on the pitch. So that put us level with Northampton going into the last game of the season. So Northampton were third, we were fourth, level on points. There was a so they had +5 goal difference on us. So thinking, right, okay, into the last game of the season, we've got Scunthorpe at home, who had already been relegated. It's like, we've got a chance here. So anyway, going to the last game, sell out, like atmosphere's unreal. And anyway, game starts, atmosphere's bouncing, about 5 minutes in, goes flat. Just think, oh, Northampton must have scored. Like, obviously nothing's gone on at our ground. So I looked over at the bench and was like, oh, is it 1-0? And they were like, nah, 2-0. So you think, oh, Northampton are 2-0 up. So now we need 7. We need a 7-goal swing. So we scored 2. We're 2-0 up at half time. Just before half time, we hear a massive cheer from the crowd. So obviously, okay, Northampton were away at Barrow. So like, Barrow have scored. So they're 3-1 up at half time. We're 2-0 up. So we still need a 5-goal swing. So the formation we played, Joey played 2 wingers at fullbacks. Which is all right, we're just going for this here. Just said, lads, go and take it out of their hands. Said, you know the goals you need to score, just go and get them. So don't think we scored till about the 60th minute. Scored 2 dead quick, 4, then scored 5, then got the 6th after 80 minutes. And then fans are going like, one more. So 84 minutes, ball gets crossed in, Elliot Anderson heads it in, back stick, 7-0. And you're just like, that's the first time all season we went into the top 3. We spent more days in the bottom 2 than we did in the top 3.
Madness.
5 minutes to go in the last game.
The other team just capitulated.
Well, Scunthorpe, yeah. To be fair, they played kids, but they'd done it since they got relegated. So it's not like they changed for that game. So anyway, 84th minute, fans are all on the pitch. Ref takes us off. We've all had this like adrenaline shot. We're in the changing rooms like, we've done it, like what's happening? So lads are on the phone.
So their game's finished now.
Their game's still going on, but we're watching it finish.
Yeah.
So their game finishes 3-1 whilst we're still in the changes.
Yeah.
So it's like, right, if it stays like this, we're up. So I remember my goalkeeper coach coming up to me and was like, right, Belly, when we go back out, and I'm like, Tony, just relax. Like, let me just do it. Like, I'm fine. I'd not touched the ball for 90 minutes. Yeah. I'm like, I'm okay here. So the ref comes in and said, look, we're going to play 8 minutes. So we went out. And I think we probably played like 6.5, 7, 8. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like, if it went dead quick, but we just kept the ball. They put one long cross in that I came.
Imagine if you was a wonder kid for Scunthorpe.
Do you know what I mean?
His first game and he
I know. But yeah, and then the whistle blows, and then
magical.
Honestly, fans all on the pitch, players on the shoulders. Next thing, I'm getting like punched on the leg. My old man and my brother, they'd fought through the crowd. They got to me on the pitch. They have a moment with them.
Yeah,
and that feeling there was just insane. And you know,
it's interesting. You've touched on a point there. In football, there's so many variables, and I say it's fractions, and so many things can change. But when you set yourself a task and an objective, when you have a target and a finish line,
yeah.
It's testament that you can achieve it, whatever it is. And like a ridiculous score line like that, or like you said, if you keep a clean sheet and you play today and we win, you're still in. Yeah. And then just knowing you've achieved that task and moving forward.
Oh, it's insane. I don't think that anything like that could happen again, like the way everything aligned. And it's the most incredible feeling I've had in football, that 7-0. And then you look back at it and go, we're part of like Bristol Rovers history.
Yeah.
Like that. When Bristol Rovers fans in 40 years' time, they'll talk about that team that went and won 7-0 and that feeling and what we did, like the impossible with it.
That.
And it was, honestly, from where I was kind of a year ago, like looking for a club, to then go and do that was unbelievable.
And from there, I bet you Joey loved you to bits and kept you at the club another 3 or 4 seasons. And,
Yeah, so yeah, no, it was
obviously from that point.
Yeah, so we got promoted that summer. So we got promoted. We flew to Dubai on a Tuesday. We had a few days in Dubai.
Nice.
Chairman obviously got his wallet out, which was very nice. Then came back at my stag do, got married, honeymoon, came back in.
Oh, what amazing time
so yeah,
of your life here then.
Unreal summer, yeah. So from there we've obviously got promoted to League One, doing well, really enjoyed, like first sort of stint at League One. So this is 2022, 2017 Conference North, 2022 League One. So kind of obviously with a promotion, so 3 promotions in 4 or 5 years.
Amazing.
And then it's touched on the games that we played in League One. And then towards the end of that season, we got to February and he brought in another keeper in the January window. Just said he wanted to improve the position. So Ellery Balcom came in, and what I didn't know at the time was that there was a clause that he had to start the first 3 games of the loan. So I obviously came out the side. Ellery came in. We lost all 3 games, and it was kind of communicated to me that I'd be back in after the 3 games, but he stuck with Ellery for a bit. And then I got put back in a couple of games later. So then played the majority of the rest of that season. We were safe, we stayed up. Then towards the end of the season, he sort of rotated it between me, Ellery, and the young lad, Jed Ward, who will have a really good career in football, a really good guy. And then that summer, obviously, daughter was born, and then came back for pre-season the following year. And we did pre-season, did full pre-season, and then the last week before we played Portsmouth first game of the season, Joey pulled me in and said, look, we're going to bring in Matt Cox from Brentford on loan. So they'd obviously developed some kind of relationship with Brentford and said, look, you've been brilliant for the football club. If you want to leave, you're free to go. Said, look, get yourself close to home. You just had a daughter, etc. So sort of giving me permission to kind of look for other clubs. So I obviously ring my agent and say, look, like, this is what's been told. Like, this is the scenario I've been told I can leave. Can we see what's out there? Again, the season was starting in 2 days' time. Those slots need to be open. So it's all right at this point. Okay, if you'd have said that at the start of, at the end of the season before, it gives you time to find somewhere. But obviously, Joey's got to look after the club. If he didn't bring anyone in, I'd probably ended up playing. Yeah. So my agent actually rang the director of football and said, look, like, what's it going to take to get Belly out? Like, how does the deal look? And I think that was perceived as like my agent ringing up before the first game of the season to say to get Belly out. But I had been told.
Yeah, well, if the manager's telling you one thing.
So I've been told I could leave, and I don't think that sat well with Joey. And then anyway, the following week, anyway, we'd had a couple of chats, and then we got an offer from a League One club. So another League One club came in and said, look, they had an injury. They needed me in like ASAP. So we actually had a game that day. So we were playing Barnsley on the Saturday, and I was due to be on the bench. And this had all happened on the Saturday morning. So they wanted the deal done to have me in on the Monday. Yeah. So I thought, you know what, like, I'll ring Joey, which in hindsight is a mistake. It's a match day. I shouldn't be ringing a gaffer on a match day. Like, hold your hands up there. But he was banned from the stadium, so he wasn't allowed to be at the game. So I thought, I didn't know where he was, like, not seeing him. So just said, look, Gaff, had this offer from this club, and then I don't think the terms of that deal were quite because it was a loan deal. Yeah. So I don't think they were covering enough of my wages that Bristol Rovers wanted. So then I think because I rang him on a match day, he told me to just stay away. So I wasn't on the bench that day.
Firstly, I disagree. Don't put that all that on you.
I think,
I think it's a bit naughty, and probably because the deal didn't work in their favour. But I think clubs and managers always want the best of both worlds sometimes. And it suits them to get you out. But okay, another League One side wants you. Oh, actually, no, he can't go now. Yeah, and they'll make it a little difficult. Look, I'm not saying that's what happened in this situation.
I'm saying that that's kind of what I'd take from that and hold my hands up there. But then, so from then, there was a few articles come out in the press that I'd asked to leave the football club, which, I'd been told I could leave. Yeah, so that's why I was pursuing other options. And then from there, I was kind of ostracised from the group at the training ground. I was like left out of squads.
He doesn't want to be here. He's thinking of himself.
I still had to train with the group because the PFA rules. You had to train with the group.
Was you with the kids or just on the side or?
No, but I was still training with the group. Okay. So when I was actually training, I was with the goalkeepers and doing the team stuff and that, etc. Was doing bits with the lads that they needed, but was changing by myself, using separate facilities and stuff. So it was tough. Yeah, it was mentally. It was a really tough kind of 3 or 4 months from things that were going on behind the scenes, the way I was kind of been made to feel.
And becoming a dad and wanting structure in your life and stability.
And being obviously 150 miles away from home.
Yeah, and then being thrown this curve.
Yeah, it was tough. Like, there was a lot going on in the way I was treated that I didn't really feel like I deserved after kind of what I've done for the football over the years. But like you said, in a situation like that, emotions run high and stuff. But anyway, came to the end of the window and had a few more offers, but again, nothing that met the terms because I still had a year at Bristol Rovers that they wanted to accept. But I'm thinking, well, I'm not in any squads. You can get a decent percentage of my wage covered. Yeah. The club that I was speaking to was closer to home.
Was you sitting in a stand at this point or not?
No, wasn't going to games, no. Oh. So wasn't allowed to go to games yet. So then the window closed on the Friday and we had Lincoln at home on the Saturday. and a text went in the group saying like all players to report to the stadium for 1 o'clock or whatever it was. So I texted the guy who sent all those texts and said, look, like, is this kind of, does this include me? Like, and he said, yeah, Gaffer says everyone's there. So then we were on the pitch and we had a meeting, and in front of everyone, Joey just said, look, like, Belly, I know we've had our back and forth, but you're going to be a massive part of this football club going forward, and kind of like flipped it on his head. Like, you know me, I don't hold grudges, and kind of like brought me back into the group. So then I played a Papa John's game on a Tuesday, was back on the bench for the first team, played another Papa John's game, and then I was actually away with my missus and I got a call from my agent saying Forest Green want to take you on an emergency loan. So I was like, yeah, buzzing, like, would want to go out, like, heard good things about Forest Green. Anyway, that deal got done. They were covering a percentage of my wages. I went to Forest Green, got myself away from a situation that I needed to mentally take myself away from. So went to Forest Green ended up there for about 2.5, 3 months. Like, really enjoyed.
Who was a gaffer?
David Horseman was there, and Troy was there.
Yeah.
And so the performances on the pitch, the team was struggling, and we were getting beat, and something wasn't quite right. But really good group of people, really good staff. Goalkeeper coach Dan Connor, excellent, like really, really good. So I was there, and then while I was there, Joey got sacked. So then when Joey got sacked, Andy Mangan took over, Mangs was the assistant. So Mangs took over, and he rang me on the Wednesday, so I had a day off, rang me and was like, Belly, you coming back? Like, I'm bringing you back, you're going to play, like, fans have been asking for me to come back, like, fans have been buzzing, we're going to bring you back. So I was like, yeah, sound. So I rang Gaffer at Forest Green and said, look, I've been recalled, like, appreciate everything. And they completely understood, were like, look, all the best, go back. So they had Carlisle on the Saturday, and Mangs was basically told that he needed to win X amount of games to get the job, and Mangs wanted the job. And like, love Mangs to bits, great guy. So then recalled me on the Wednesday. So I come home, told him, left the Forest Green WhatsApp group, said to the lads, look, all the best. Told obviously Forest Green I'm leaving. About 10 o'clock at night, just getting ready for bed. Mangs, hey Mangs, you alright? Everything okay? Belly, I can't bring you back. I was like, what? He's like, yeah, the owners have blocked it. So we got new owners in that summer. And the deal was Forest Green were paying a percentage of my wages. And I think there was a clause in the guy who was playing his contract from Brentford that they had to pay more money if he played.
He's got a good agent, isn't he, that guy?
Yeah, not long. Yeah, this Brentford relationship. Yeah, club's trying to kill me, Brentford.
Yeah.
No, Jesus.
Yeah.
But so he said the owners have blocked it. I can't bring you back. So I'm like, mate, come on, like. So then I'm ringing Forest Green Gaffer at 10:30 at night, saying, can I come back? Can't get through to him. The only person I got through to was Troy about 11:15. So I rang Troy, and then he said, look, yeah, come back in tomorrow. So I went back in, and they'd not cancelled all the paperwork.
Yeah.
But Mangs had said to me, look, you've got 6 months left on your deal. The owners have said you're not getting a new deal next year. Like, they're going in a different direction. The owners got rid of all of that crowd of players that had done really well, brought in new players. And so he was like, look, find yourself a new club. Like, you need to get out, basically. So then with the Forest Green loan came to an end December, was due to go back to Bristol Rovers on the Thursday. And on that Tuesday, Lloyd Kerry was now head of recruitment at Harrogate.
Oh, quality.
He texted me and said, Belly, I need to bring you home.
Come on.
It was like, we've just had an injury. And I said, look, I've got my last game for Forest Green tonight. I'm going back to Bristol Rovers on Thursday. I'd not spoken to the new manager, Matt Taylor, because in this time, Matt Taylor had been appointed, Mangs had left. So I said, I need to find out what the situation is there. So I spoke to him, and he said, look, I'm going to have a look at this keeper. I'm going to keep an eye on you, but if you want to go play games, I'd explain what had gone on, like everything that had gone on behind the scenes and that. And he was like, yeah, completely understand, like, your situation, you're 33. He said, go and play these games for Harrogate. So I'm thinking, buzzing, like, going back, seeing my mates, like, still kept in touch with, like, the management at Harrogate, like, really good guys. And then turned up at Harrogate on the Thursday, played against Notts County on the Saturday, beat them 3-1. And then the following Tuesday after that game, the manager pulled me, Simon Weaver from Harrogate, and just said, so what's your plans in January? I said, well, look, Forest Green were offering me a deal. They said they wanted to sign me in January. I said, I'm looking to get out of Bristol Rovers. I don't know how that looks yet, but I've been told I can leave. So this is kind of, he said, would you come back here? I said, well, absolutely, of course I would.
Yeah.
He said, it's a no-brainer. Just said, speak to my agent. So they spoke to my agent. That all got agreed. And then they went to Bristol Rovers, and then Bristol Rovers started trying to ask for quite a significant transfer fee for me for a player that hadn't been at the club. It was these
more or less tainted your career, and trying to make a quick buck from you. So it's naughty.
So yeah, it ended up getting agreed, and then so I had an offer from Forest Green, an offer from Harrogate, but was only ever going to take obviously the Harrogate one, and then signed back there permanently in January, and then
it's unbelievable that you can have a club which you can call home, really, because it is very much your club now.
Yeah,
Harrogate.
I mean, I played almost 200 games in my first stint. I'm on, I don't know, about 220 games now. But
amazing.
Like I said, to play with like your best mates every day, a place where I had an unbelievable relationship with the fans. And like, to be honest, wherever I've been, I've loved my football. Yeah. Like Nuneaton, Tamworth, Harrogate first time, Bristol Rovers, like the fans there were incredible with me. Like that was the first time when you've gone to a club and you're like, with all due respect to Harrogate, it's like Bristol Rovers is a big established football league club. It's something that, like, obviously Harrogate are trying to build that.
Well, you've played a part in putting Harrogate on the map, so
so
you've built it. Whereas Bristol Rovers had that history, had that heritage,
and then to add my own bit to Bristol Rovers, like with the promotion and with the Player of the Year that year and stuff, and then to go to loved it at Forest Green. Fans were brilliant with me there, and then the reception that I got when I was back at Harrogate, when I was in that loan spell, the fans were all singing like "sign him up," like what was it? Do you know what I mean? And then the deal got done, and then honestly couldn't be happier now. Like the training ground's probably an hour and a bit from my house, so I'm home every day with my daughter. My daughter's 16, like 16, wishing my life away now. 16 months. So yeah, to be back home with Mrs. little one, your family, and that, it's
everything, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's just like we said with football, like the way kind of the sliding doors moments have kind of happened through my career, and then to have left Harrogate, gone to Bristol Rovers, and then it to come full circle, to come back to a place that I absolutely loved. Yeah. Like now it's, really, really happy to be back.
And it's a good turn of events as well, because if you don't know you and you just Google your name, you haven't been painted in a very good light in that whole Bristol situation. Yeah. So to hear your side of the story, it's refreshing, and it's fantastic that you've got a club like Harrogate who do know you and saying, we'll take you back as in it.
Yeah, look, like there's a lot that went on at Bristol Rovers, but in terms of like my whole experience there, like loved it, absolutely loved it. Yes, there was things I didn't agree with that happened, and maybe that's time for another day. But
you've been a part of some incredible football moments in that club's history.
Yeah, no, it was So for me, to be able to have gone there, done that, to then come back and to still have, I'd like to think if I go to a Rovers game, like I'd be well received and so I was hoping for a Bristol Rovers Harrogate FA Cup draw the other night.
No, that would have been amazing.
But no, it's been looking back on it, can look back on it with pride, like from where I was from America to then the non-league to then 2017 making that decision to go full time to then got to League One with 3 promotions and
what an amazing story. What an amazing story, an amazing keeper, and I think it's an inspiration. People should watch this and take note of the importance of education. I think my brother's lads certainly will, but I've got a couple of quick fire questions to finish. So it's a token gesture, best player played with, best player played against.
Best player played with. So with this one, it's like players that were so far above the level that they were at. So Elliot Anderson for me, when we had him on loan at Bristol Rovers, he was so far above that level that he would be that. And then when I was in America, there was a guy, Andrew Wenger, who ended up being the first pick in the draft. He was so far, but he went really the MLS. But in terms of people who are head and shoulders above everyone else, would be him. Yeah, they're best players I've played with. Yeah.
And where do you see yourself in the game?
Yeah,
after your career.
Yeah, so I've just finished my goalkeeping B license.
Have you still got your academy?
Yeah, so I've got my outfield B and my goalkeeping B. So I had my academy for 7 years. Did outfield and goalkeeping. Then I stopped that for a couple of years while I was in Bristol, and then I've just started it up this year. So focusing mainly on the goalkeeping side of things. Yeah. So I've got weekly goalkeeper sessions, and then I go out.
Is that just within Notts?
Just within Notts and like surrounding areas. Yeah. Then I go to like grassroots teams and do like consultancy services and that. But my goalkeeping academy is full, so I'm opening another night with that. So
really,
yeah, want to stay in the game. Don't know in what capacity. I've applied to be on the PFA Players Board.
Okay.
Hoping that I get on that. So yeah, trying to spin a lot of plates, trying to do media stuff.
And what are you now, 34?
Just 34, yeah. So now just kind of seeing what doors open. I think I want to stay on the grass, but
Well, you look after yourself as well, don't you? And that's important.
Yeah, touch wood. I've
got a long time.
Yeah, I've played 40 plus games a year for the best part of my career. I've missed very few games, touch wood, but want to stay in the game, whether that's on the grass, whether that's upstairs in the boardroom, media, I don't really know. So just kind of dipping my toe into a few things now to see where I end up.
What's your degrees in?
History and business.
You can use business. I don't know about history.
Yeah, unless I'm going to go be a history teacher, but no, yeah, it's been some journey.
Now, hopefully, I'll try and catch a game.
Yeah, let me know. Yeah. I don't know when we're down there. I think we've got Walsall away.
Oh, have you?
At some point, yeah. Well, obviously we'll have. I don't know when that is, but yeah, I'll sort you some tickets for the big.
MK Dons as well.
Yeah,
Scott, I'll go and catch that one.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for your time.
Yeah, no, thank you for having me.
Absolute pleasure getting you in and listening to your story.
No, cheers.
It's been refreshing, mate. And it's been great. Thank you very much.
Nice.
James Belshaw.
Thank you. Cheers, mate.
Quality. Woo!
Was that all right for you?
Yeah, it's class.
Yeah?
Everyone always asks me if it was all right. So I always do it. Woo!
Yeah.